Okay, let's go ahead and get started. First of all, a huge thank you to everyone for taking time out of their day to come and join us on today's webinar presented by Huawei. The topic today is WLAN. We're going to focus specifically on some of the best practices deployments around 802.11ac and give you a little bit of visibility into where the standard is going. Our primary presenter today is going to be Bruce Carrington, who's one of Huawei's solution architects based out of Texas. So we're very lucky to have Bruce with us today and excited for hearing his presentation. Just a couple pieces of housekeeping. As we always like to do, we're going to have a couple of polling questions throughout the session. So when we have those polling questions, please do us a favor and participate, and we'll share the results with everyone in attendance so you can get a feel for what your peers are doing in some of these areas that we're asking about. Also, if you have questions for Bruce or for us here at Huawei, please enter those in the question area of your GoToWebinar interface. And we'll be sure to answer all those at the end. Bruce is going to save about 10 minutes at the end for questions. So definitely keep your questions coming throughout. And then finally, we are recording this session, and all of our webinars are recorded and available on the Huawei Enterprise USA website. So if you go to the resources page on that site, you'll see a list of all the recordings that we've done over the past couple of years, as well as all the future webinars, so you can register for any of the future ones that are upcoming. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Bruce. Take it away, Bruce.
Thanks, Nick. I appreciate that, and welcome to all the partners and customers that have joined in for this webinar on WLAN and the future of Wi-Fi technology. And I'd just like to, I think I dispensed with the slides regarding Huawei, but I'd just like to reiterate and give you some feeling about who Huawei is if you're not familiar with Huawei. Huawei being a $40 billion global company. We serve 45 of the world's top 50 telecommunications companies and provide the infrastructure for those companies. We're in 140 different countries, and we serve a third of the world's population with our networking gear installed on those telecommunication providers. We have 150,000 global employees, with 70,000 of those employees focused on research and development. As a result, we're a very technically and engineering-driven company, and we actually put aside about 10% of that $40 billion back into R&D, one of the highest, if not the highest amount of funds that are turned into investment in research and development in the industry. To that end, we've been in the United States since 2001. And we have our headquarters based in Plano, Texas. And Huawei Enterprise, actually headquartered out of Cupertino in California. And we have a vast portfolio of information communications technology solutions. These cover everything from telepresence, unified conferencing and communications, through servers and storage, as well as our IP products with routers and switching, optical products, and a lot of the products that come from the carrier side. We're well positioned to provide a whole infrastructure solution for the data center, as well as remote sites and distributed environments. So with that being said, I'd like to move forward and talk about what we're doing on WLAN and where the future of WLAN is going. So I think for today's agenda, we're just going to have a look initially at Wi-Fi technology, where it stands and what the evolution has been, and where we are today, and what the trends are and have been in the market thus far. And then move into covering some of the future challenges, followed by how we can address those challenges with the future directions of Wi-Fi as a technology in the enterprise space. So Bill Gates made this comment about the advance of technology being based to fit in, so you really don't notice it and it becomes a part of your daily life. And really what that's alluding to is that WLAN, if you will, is a utility today. It is really, people have an expectation that they can connect anywhere, anytime through Wi-Fi, if not through some other mechanism. Wi-Fi. All of our devices are enabled in Wi-Fi. So it's Wi-Fi everywhere, whether that's on public transportation, a hotspot, all of these areas, corporations, schools, residential areas, everybody wants to be able to connect through their device. There is that expectation today. And it's a 7x24 thing. So really, like turning on the faucet with water, it's the same thing with Wi-Fi. People expect it to be there. They expect it to be available. They expect it to handle the needs of their applications. So it's all about the customer experience in this instance. So let's talk about wireless addiction in the enterprise, the wild world of WLAN. So essentially, we've experienced the overcrowding in the 2.4 gigahertz range, with IT managers looking to expand that in the 5 gigahertz range. Wireless device usage is up. If it's not iPads, it's phones. If it's not phones, it's wireless-enabled laptops. There's just a huge use and a move to mobility, which has driven substantial growth in the enterprise. Now, whether that be an employee-provided device, but we've seen a substantial rise in the bring-your-own-device department as well. So actual numbers show that employee-owned devices are driving the growth even more than employer-owned devices. So what does that really mean? It means that this whole mobility thing is part of the fundamental client side that's driving the back-end technology with bringing your own device. And I think the picture here is designed to illustrate that a given user may have 3 or more devices, a phone, a laptop, a pad of some description, tablets, and it's just multiple per individual user. There's multiple demands for access. And none of this is really news to you folks. You're part of the trend. I'm part of the trend. We're all part of the trend. But it is what is driving this WLAN phenomenon and the challenges associated with it. So if we have a look at the evolution of Wi-Fi technology, really we've gone through multiple iterations of technology advances in signal processing, substantially so, about a million times in terms of speed and capacity over the years. And that's been the driver, the focus on increasing link throughput and bandwidth to the device, whilst trying to maintain that backward compatibility as we move forward to enable legacy device support across a number of different 802.11 standards. So if we drill down a little bit more, we can see here a little breakout of the evolution of the technology. And this is just a simple introduction to how the IEEE 802.11 standard began and started to grow from our legacy ABG moving to N, and now with the advances in AC and the rapid adoption of AC in the enterprise and beyond is part of where this has gone. And this is being focused in the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz bands with different extensions available across the 802.11 technology platforms. So Nick, I'm going to hand it back to you for polling question number 1.
Outstanding. Thank you very much, Bruce. First thing we want to find out about from you guys is what is the trigger for WLAN in your network? And this is just a single answer solution, but we're trying to find out, if you had to pick one of these, what is the fundamental trigger for WLAN in your network? So go ahead and vote, if you will, and we'll try to give you a few seconds here to make a choice, and then we'll share the results with you in a minute. While you're voting on the poll, I just want to remind you, if you have questions for Bruce, please keep those coming in the Q&A panel on your GoToWebinar interface, and we will take those all at the end. So we would love it if everybody would participate in the poll, or hopefully as many of you as possible. So we want to know if it's more the BYOD thing that's driving WLAN. Is it just overall price? Is it the maintenance issue? Is it performance? Or just the overall convergence of wired and wireless? So we'll give you another few seconds to vote, and then we'll turn it back over. All right, let's go ahead and close it out here, and I'll share the results. And as you can see, over half of you believe that it's the BYOD and the mobility thing that's driving it. Price really isn't an issue. Small contribution from the maintenance and the performance, and then the convergence is something that's significant. So that's definitely useful information for Bruce. Bruce, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Thanks, Nick. Okay, so let's talk about the Wi-Fi deployment trends. And again, I think when we talk about the things that are on here on the screen that have driven the rapid adoption and the start of the growth of the 802.11ac market from 802.11n, I'll give you a little bit of background. So 802.11ac operates in the 5 gigahertz band. So in the 2.4 gigahertz band, an 11ac device behaves like an 802.11n device. So we get additional features that enable the data rates to climb up to 6.9 gigabits per second. So we have the opportunity to have 8 antennas and multiple spatial streams, a wider channel to 20 to 40, 80, 160, and 80 plus 80 megahertz. The downlink is multi-user MIMO, and we have 256 QAM modulation, giving us much greater bandwidth capability. So what's happening today in the market with 802.11ac is the first generation AC chips are already available. There are products in the market, and to that point, and I'll reiterate this again, Huawei was the first vendor to bring commercial 802.11ac to market in Shenzhen back in 2012. So usage cases for this, well, I guess just to wind that back, those new generation chips are supporting data rates up to 1.3 gigabits per second with 3 spatial streams at 80 megahertz. So the usage case for this kind of thing is expanding not only in the enterprise but in the home market as well. And 45% of enterprises plan to deploy 802.11ac in their production networks today. So with the focus being on link throughput today rather than efficient use of the spectrum resource that's available. So we do get significant throughput advantage, and that tends to be the driving factor for a lot of people. So 802.11ac is backwardly compatible with 802.11a and 802.11n. So if we have a look at the device proliferation, we're seeing staggering ramp up in the graph that you see here in the number of devices, the number of Wi-Fi sessions. And as I mentioned, you have one student, one individual, could be anywhere between 3 and 5 devices. It's quite an eye-opener when we talk about that. So really, 802.11ac is leveling the RF playing field. Previous differentiations by vendors were unique, but most of those have been negated by the 802.11ac standard. And some of those things include airtime fairness, beamforming, spectrum analysis. So you will see different vendors promote certain things that may have been a differentiator with 802.11n, but are no longer true differentiators with 802.11ac. With 802.11ac, the faster throughput, the broader coverage, multi-user MIMO, longer battery life, all those things are inherent in the products and the standard that comes today. So what we're seeing with 802.11ac and its continued double-digit growth year over year, we're probably going to see that run through 2018 when there'll be some emergence of some standard that will move AC beyond where we are today. So what we're seeing with AC is replacement of the wired edge. So people are looking for that gigabit capacity through a wireless versus wired implementation. So it really is a resetting of the whole industry from that perspective. A lot more adoption where people are no longer having to pull wire and have that expense. They can go wireless and get all the advantages of mobility as well. It's really a no-brainer for people to approach projects with 802.11ac as the go-to standard. Almost nobody would be adopting 802.11 as a deployment standard when you can get the added throughput and benefits from AC today. So it's really something that should be considered for new implementations and potentially outdoor offerings as well. You know, things like campuses, parks, stadiums, those kinds of things. Again, there's a big focus around management on ease of use and zero configuration, virtual controllers, the reduction of costs with software taking over from hardware as well. So if we have a look at where 802.11ac is dominating deployments today, you can see through these research metrics that have been provided by the various research companies showing the dominance and the replacement at 802.11 and the conversions to 802.11ac deployment. Very clear in terms of access points, client-enabled devices, as well as upgrades and refreshes to existing infrastructure as well. So the client side of it is really being driven by client-enabled devices and a very quick adoption by vendors to enable their tablets, their phones, their laptops, and other devices with 802.11ac embedded into those devices. And that's immediately helping drive adoption of this higher bandwidth technology. So Nick, I think it's time for polling question 2.
Okay, excellent. So the first question was talking about the overall trigger for WLAN. This question is very much focused on 802.11ac. So Bruce has talked a little bit about some of the benefits and differences with 802.11ac. What we want to find out now from you is what would be the primary driver for an upgrade from whatever you're running today to 802.11ac. Is it the speed increase? Is it the dense modulation capability? Is it the MIMO support? Is it the need for coveraging in high-density environments? Or is it reduced latency? So I know this is a little bit similar to the last polling question, but the last one was more of a 50,000-foot view. This is drilling right down into the specifics around the benefits of 802.11ac. So please vote. And by the way, we do want to thank you very much for participating in our polls. It kind of makes the overall presentation more interactive and interesting, and we appreciate the feedback because it's very helpful to us. We are getting some good questions, by the way, coming in the Q&A panel, so please keep those coming. As Bruce talks about his topic, we'd love to get questions that you have, and we'll share those. So let's go ahead and close out the poll at this point, and we'll share the results. So you can see that the overall highest score, over half the people believe that speed is the fundamental benefit, the most important benefit, I should say. The other one that ranked pretty high was the coverage in high-density environments, and then to a lesser extent latency, and to a much lesser extent the modulation and the MIMO support. So useful feedback. Bruce, carry on.
Thanks, Nick. Okay, so I think if we have a little closer look at some of the environments that are very much driving the adoption of 802.11ac, and obviously will present the next evolutionary path for the IEEE's next standard, which we're going to discuss in a few moments. So education is a significant area of adoption with the FCC funding to help provide that one-to-one in the educational environment. So the combination of bring your own device from students with the goals, the stated goals of the education industry, if you will, to provide access to students for their devices and to internet communications facilities is definitely driving a lot of adoption, whether it be K through 12 or even in university campuses. Any educational institution today is wanting to provide those facilities. And if they haven't got them, 802.11ac is obvious choice for them, but there's a huge upgrade path for those environments where they have 802.11 or 802.11n or 802.11a today. Healthcare is another key area where constant connectivity is a very big thing, with voice over Wi-Fi creating roaming problems in terms of bandwidth capability, multiple device things, RFID solutions, HIPAA compliant with security over Wi-Fi, the guest experience in a hospital, and I can attest to that with my wife currently in the hospital. Very critical to have access to Wi-Fi, whether you're a guest or a patient. And it's a mission critical environment, so with more and more access to the network in those institutions and on those campuses, it's very important that they have sufficient bandwidth to cater for the needs. Hospitality is another huge area for fan experience in stadiums. Wherever you have an event, whether it be the NFL or the NBA or the Major League Baseball or any other large event where you've got huge numbers of people, you're always going to have people bringing their devices with them, wanting to access, wanting to tweet, wanting to Facebook, wanting to send video of what they're doing and what they're seeing to their friends and relatives. And this is driving the high demands in stadiums for a better fan experience, for greater capacity, for greater mesh coverage. All of those things are relevant. So Nick, over to you again. This is I think this is our last poll question.
Yeah, this is the final one, and what we want to find out now is relative to 802.11ac. We know the standard was announced and a lot of people spoke about it last year, and this year what we're seeing is a lot of deployments. So we're trying to figure out, where are you with respect to deployment of 802.11ac? Have you already deployed it? Are you already there? Is it something you see that's 6 months out, 2 years out? Is it more than 2 years out? Or do you feel like you have no plans at all to move to that standard? So we would love to see where you sit on this spectrum of adoption for 802.11ac. So we'll give you another 5 or 10 seconds to vote, and then we will carry back on with the rest of the presentation. All right, let's go ahead and share out the results. And interestingly, almost 20% of you have already deployed 802.11ac, so that's great. More than half of you are within the next 2 years, with almost a third being within the next 6 months, which is great. And then there's a few that are further out, but that's pretty good adoption. And Bruce, does that stack up with what you're seeing out in the marketplace today?
Yes, Nick, it certainly does. We're seeing a faster adoption of 802.11ac versus 802.11n, and primarily for the reasons that the audience has responded, for greater throughput, as greater demands are being made upon these networks.
Great. Well, continue on.
So, and this is all relevant. So, very important. So a number of people who have adopted 802.11ac want to know where we're going next. Obviously, next is not here yet, but it's important to understand where we're going. And for the rest of the folks who haven't adopted 802.11ac, want to know what Huawei is doing. You know, as a major player globally in the networking space and with WLAN, Huawei is on over 180 standards boards worldwide for a variety of information communication technology solutions and technologies. Accordingly, we are focused on high performance. All of our portfolios, whether it be servers, storage, WLAN, switching, a lot of this stuff has come from the carrier side of the business, so we're always focused on high performance. As it relates to WLAN, we're very much focused on high density coverage solutions and high availability with dynamic load sharing and layer 2 and 3 roaming in intra-AC operability. And smart management. I think ease of management of any solution today is important. So what else is Huawei doing with 802.11ac? So if we wind back a little bit and understand where Huawei has come, you know, we have a substantial 50+% market share in China, one of the biggest markets in the world. We have R&D facilities formed across Asia, Europe, and the U.S. We have a large R&D team for WLAN. We're focused on WDS and mesh and Wi-Fi, and as I mentioned earlier on, we were the first to test and deploy 802.11ac in the industry commercially. So that's just a little bit of history on Huawei, but if we look forward today, Huawei's 802.11ac portfolio is illustrated here, and we have a number of access points and access controllers that are available with the 802.11ac standard. Like many other vendors also have 802.11ac portfolios. But being a leader in the industry is one thing that we take to heart, and with 10% of our revenues going towards research and development, we're at the forefront of the next generation of technology based on 802.11ac, but it will be IEEE's new standard 802.11ax. And that's what I'm going to talk about in the next section here as we go forward. But y'all might be interested in reaching out to this URL on Engadget. They have an article that's covering Huawei's 802.11ax implementations, which hit 10.5 gigabits per second. So that's kind of staggering from where we are today. 802.11ac is a big jump from 802.11n, but it looks like the next generation of Wi-Fi technology is going to be another substantial performance improvement for a variety of reasons, and not just the throughput. So I'll leave that slide up there for a second to really help you write down the URL if you want, or you can do a search for it on Engadget. But essentially today, as I mentioned, 802.11ac brings the 1.3 gigabits bandwidth. It's a big leap from previous iterations of the standard. It mitigates problems of QoS and channel collision and interference. Allows you to have high network access rate from clients and good performance, and vastly improve that user performance, along with the reduction in power usage with your access points. And typically this is what our portfolio of 802.11ac products provides. So going forward, there are challenges, and we're going to talk about some of those challenges right here. So as I mentioned before, multiple devices, and a lot of those devices are dual and triple band capable. So what do we do with this staggering growth? You know, we're reaching theoretical changes, the theoretical limits in Wi-Fi with modulation and coding gains that we have. Further increase in link throughput may not be that easy. You know, Wi-Fi technology is really penetrating the carrier space with a different set of requirements for offloading, things like QoS and QoE support. dense stations and access deployments are becoming very, very common. And everybody wants accommodation. Some of those stadiums are a classic example of that. And we're seeing Wi-Fi traditionally that was deployed indoor now being deployed outdoor, and so there's different channel conditions. There's a large discrepancy between useful throughput and physical layer throughput. And some entities are starting to question, like the UK government, how do they handle this going forward? I think in the UK, one of their politicians really asked the House if the radio spectrum was as important for economic growth in the 21st century as oil was in the 20th century, and it's a real and relevant question. But that's the kind of profile that WLAN and Wi-Fi has because of its importance with the growing number of population being subscribers with their handheld devices. And what do you do with all those legacy devices, right? So traffic growth. I think this comes as no surprise. The global IP traffic growth, and now we're seeing IP traffic growth dominated by video traffic. They say by 2016, 55% of all the consumer internet traffic will be video traffic. That doesn't surprise me from YouTube to all the other video outlets that we see. So some of the use cases for having a newer standard, a better standard, the IEEE sees, things like cloud-based applications, virtual desktop infrastructure, and video streaming. These things are driving the bandwidth requirements, the robustness requirements, anytime, anywhere use cases. None of this will come as a surprise to you. Enterprise cloud computing. The projections that we see here, and I think that the forecasting across all regions of the world is substantial growth in cloud traffic. And a lot of that cloud traffic at the edge is Wi-Fi WLAN based. Again, public access and cellular offload. We talked about that, and the stadium thing is very similar to that, but here airports, trains, all the video access, video over phone, streaming videos, VPN access as well, more and more. So what are these directions? What is coming? So based on that previous diagram I put up earlier, this is really where AX fits in the 802.11 work group. You could put that AX box as an extension of AC per se, because it really does leverage all of the advantages of AC and beyond. But we're really focusing now on some different metrics rather than just the straight throughput as a measure for improvement with Wi-Fi. So some of the issues that we face today are inefficiency with things like protocol issue, MAC issue, legacy devices, overlapping interference, and other sources of interference. And those cause inefficiency. So the future direction was a work group really that it was initially named the High Efficiency WLAN work group that has morphed into the 802.11ax standard. And Huawei has individual that holds the chair of this 802.11ax standards and working group. They first met in May of 2013, and obviously there was huge industry interest in the scope and feasibility when they were working on developing this standard. And really the whole focus around this was improving spectrum efficiency, area throughput, and real-world performance in indoor and outdoor deployments, addressing the presence of interference sources and dense heterogeneous deployments, because that's what we're seeing with WLAN. It's gone from just being a a wider, more spread out access model to a high density model in multiple locations across multiple industries. And we're seeing, moderate to heavy usage of APs. So spectrum area and efficiency throughput is really about modulation and coding gains that you can get with the density. So as I mentioned earlier, we're reaching the theoretical limits. So improving density is one way for increasing that area input. So if we look today at some of these APs, it's a one transmission at any given time. The whole idea is to move to from a coexistence model to a collaboration model where multiple APs can transmit it at the same time and share that same space without collisions and so forth. And really, it's all about, efficient use of the spectrum. So moving from the left side of this chart where we have dedicated spectrums to being able to have multiple channels of STA devices access the same spectrum without stomping on people is really providing more efficiency of that whole spectrum that's made available for Wi-Fi. So there's a huge potential for improved area throughput and cell edge performance. So it's about collaboration versus coexistent and efficient spectral modulations using things like orthogonal, OFDMA and scheduling of QoS and QoE. The use of technologies like orthogonal frequency divisional multiple access, these things are really key for 802.11ax as we move forward. So I think, in closing, I'd have to say that we're seeing that Wi-Fi technology is obviously playing an increasing role in the enterprise space. And the amendments that we're seeing with the AX standard that's come to fruition is really moving from focusing on a single link throughput to how to leverage Wi-Fi efficiency and bandwidth by improving that efficiency for the whole WLAN deployment. And really this has led to the 802.11ax standard. And Huawei is really leading in this effort with others to help and find out that now that the standard is finalized, we've been a key participant in that with others to make sure that the technology is efficient and can be broadly adopted, not by just current users, but backwardly compatible for existing users as well. And that really brings me to the end of my presentation around 802.11ax. And I think for 20% of you, it's something that you can look forward to knowing that you already are leveraging the benefits of 802.11ac in your environment. But for 80% of you on the call that haven't leveraged 802.11ac, 802.11ac is where you need to be today to go from 802.11, wireless, not at desktop speeds, to an 802.11ac environment where you can get desktop equivalent throughput and have greater density, more satisfied users, broader coverage, all of those things with using the 8 spatial streams of MIMO that 802.11ac offers. But now you understand where the evolution of Wi-Fi and WLAN is going as we bridge the gap to 2018, which is quite some ways off yet, when 802.11ax will come to fruition. So Nick, I think that is where I'm calling it, but we've got some contact information for our attendees here today, and I'd like to take some questions.
And we do have quite a few questions, so thank you guys very much for your participation, both in the polls and by asking questions. That's fantastic. Bruce, go ahead and check out some of the questions that have been sent over. You can kind of get a feel for those, and I'll answer the first one while you're taking a look at some of the others. The first one is, where do I get more information about the Huawei wireless products? And so if you look at that URL that's on the screen right there, HuaweiEnterpriseUSA.com, that is a domain that the Huawei Enterprise Group has direct control over. So there is a Huawei.com site that is a little bit more international and global focused and has a lot of case studies and other information that's tied to more of the global market. But the Huawei Enterprise USA site is directly tied to the US market, so most of the videos and case studies and other kinds of information you're going to see there are more specific to the North American market and the US in particular. So if you go on there, you'll definitely be able to find a lot of information about our products, and that includes data sheets, high-res product images, case studies, and a variety of other supporting documentation. So we recommend that you go look there. If you do have questions for our sales team, you can call this 855-464-8293 number or send an email to huaweiinfo@huawei.com. These email addresses and phone numbers will go into our inside sales team, and they'll be able to route you to the appropriate person if you have questions. So Bruce, here's one of the questions that's come to you that we'll go ahead and ask you right now. The first one is, does Huawei support cloud-managed AC?
So, excuse me. So, not that I'm aware of from a cloud perspective. I know there are a number of different offerings that were unique differentiators in the prior to 802.11ac coming to fruition, but not that I'm aware of.
Okay. And this is more of a product question, so if you don't know the answer to this, we will get it afterwards, but we'll go ahead and ask it for you anyway. What are the most current Huawei AP models on the market for AC and WLAN?
Yeah, so I did have a slide back here that shows the 5000 series, and let me see if I can roll the slide back for the folks. Not sure if we can bring up all of the portfolio. There we go.
Excellent.
So we've got a wide range that starts with the 5000 series, the 5030, but we also have introduced the 7030 and the 8030 series of units as well. Obviously, all of these bring the benefits of 802.11ac to customers with the 8 spatial streams, MIMO, simultaneous transmission, frequencies in 80 megahertz and 160 megahertz in the 256 QAM, and frame aggregation. So transmission rates can vary between 400 meg to 6 gigabits per second. We've got spectrum analysis, smart antenna, beam forming technology, and we're backwardly compatible, as is 11AC, compatible with 11N as well.
Excellent. Okay, that's a great answer. Another question, I think I'll go ahead and take this one. The question is, do we have technical certification courses for Huawei WLAN, and how do partners get certified on Huawei products? So just kind of an overview of the training available. I mentioned that Huawei Enterprise USA website. If you go on that, if you're a partner, there's actually a partner section of the website that is only accessible if you've been an approved partner for Huawei. Not real hard to do, but you kind of apply to be a partner, and then if you have a resale business or if you're a VAR, we'll go ahead and approve you. And once you get into that partner section of the portal, there's actually two kinds of training. There's sales training, and then there's training for SEs, systems engineers. And that training will cover a variety of different topics, one of which is the WLAN portfolio. It'll also give you enough information so that you can go out and talk intelligently about Huawei. And on the SE side, the goal is to give you enough information so that you can architect a solution for one of your customers. So if you are a partner, definitely go on to the partner section of the website. If you don't have access to it, apply to be a partner, get that access, and you'll see all kinds of information. And there's lots of other content on that partner section of the website as well, including deal registration, pricing information, all kinds of different things. So it's definitely pretty useful to be up there. The other training that we have, so that's kind of more partner-focused training. The other training that we have is actual professional services training, and this is often also attended by partners, but also could be end customers as well. And this is the training that will actually teach you how to take these solutions out of the box, how to install them, configure them, and get them set up into a production environment. So that professional services training is either done in an aggregated location, sometimes in one of the Huawei offices, either the Plano office or our Cupertino office, or often it's in remote sales locations, or sometimes we also do it online. So if you're interested in that training, those are more like 5-day classes, very in-depth technical detail there, again, used by people who are installing the products. So for more information on that, you can contact the phone number and email that we had on the screen a little bit earlier. Okay, so that's that question. Bruce, what about, you mentioned the replacement of the wired edge with 11AC. However, there are still devices that do not support 5 gigahertz. What about the continued deployment of 11N for 2.4 gigahertz customers?
So there'll still be products that are available out there, and Huawei certainly has a complete portfolio of 802.11n products. Our AC products are 11N backwardly compatible. Certainly, given the direction that the industry is going, I'd certainly highly recommend moving to 802.11ac either as an upgrade or enhancement to your network, or if you have a greenfield deployment, definitely 802.11ac is the way to go.
Excellent, excellent. So another one is, are there any plans by Huawei to give a technical presentation on 11AX, a presentation that covers the specifications? So I don't know, Bruce, if you want to take a crack at that, but kind of talking in more detail, more depth about where that spec is going and kind of where that market's going to evolve to.
Yeah, and so that's a fair enough request for a specific deep dive, and I'm sure it's something that could be undertaken by Huawei. I'm not aware that we have anything on the roadmap as far as the webinars are concerned for a deep dive on AX, and certainly along with myself, my colleague Rob Vercon, who unfortunately was unable to deliver this webinar today, is very keen to provide a deeper dive on AX. We typically, and this particular webinar was designed to really help folks who are currently either don't have AC or have AC and want to know where the industry is going to understand about AX. There's not a lot of news out there about AX. You saw that one article on Engadget for what Huawei is doing with AX. And so I think as we go forward, we're going to have more emphasis on AX as a directional technology. That's deliverable around the 2018 timeframe. So we're still a fair ways out on that. And that doesn't preclude us from doing a deeper dive. But I think for this broad audience, as it is today, we only have 20% of people who currently have AC. And so a deeper dive on AX may appeal to some of that audience base. But absolutely, it's a consideration. Huawei being a very engineering and technically driven company, we're definitely focused on the standards, and we'd love to deliver more information around the standard and what the benefits are over AC. Now, you should have got some sense of that today through the limited information that we did provide. But that is the direction that the industry is going from 11AC to 11AX, and it's not going to be focused just on the throughput. It's going to be focused on other aspects about efficient use of the spectrum and being able to cope with higher density of clients and APs.
Great, and I also do just want to thank for the input about future topics. As you know, we're delivering at least one webinar every other week, sometimes more. So if you have thoughts about other topics that you'd like to hear about, please bring those to us. We're definitely the group that is vetting all the requests and figuring out the schedule. So thank you for that, and keep those kind of requests coming. Here's another question, Bruce, that I think you'll like, and it is, what is the impact of Wi-Fi legacy clients to the overall performance of an 11AC network?
Really not. I mean, AC is backwardly compatible. Those clients will function at their standard capacity that they have the capability of doing. So if you're in an AC network with an 802.11n client, you're going to top out at your capability on an 802.11n device, but really no impact to the 802.11ac devices on the network. Now, if you're in a network that's an 802.11 network and you're connecting an 802.11ac device, that 802, depending upon what you're connecting where, you may have an 802.11ac enabled device that will drop down to an 802.11n capacity in that environment.
Excellent, excellent. Okay. The next one has to do with whether or not we have any promotions running on the WLAN products, and that's a great question. In case you're not aware, Huawei does have a significant Q3 promotion running on just overall switching products. It's called Discover Huawei, with kind of a subtitle of Switch Your Switch. And so we're providing very aggressive pricing on the switching and the networking portfolio. It's really kind of more targeted at the core switching products, but as a result, it's kind of flowing over into other networking products as well. So contact your Huawei channel account manager or your Huawei sales reps and find out what kind of promotional pricing that you can get on the Huawei products. As any of you know who are in the space selling this stuff, we really want people to give our products a try, and as a result, we're coming out with some very aggressive promotions. And once people get a feel for the quality combined with some of the pricing that we're offering out there, they realize what an incredible value it is. There was another question that was talking about some of the other webinars that are coming up. So I don't know that we email every single person in our database with every possible webinar. We're trying to avoid spamming you guys too much, but just to give you a heads up, next week we are doing a webinar on the topic of PCIe application acceleration. So that would be Huawei's TCAL ES3000 product that's become extremely hot and popular these days. So if you're interested in that, that's going to be a week from today. And then the following week, we're doing a webinar as Storage as a Service in combination with our partner Zadara. That's really been kind of focused in the Midwest market, but if you're interested in that topic as well, all of these webinars can be seen and can be registered from the Huawei website, that site that we talked about earlier. Which, by the way, Bruce, can you scan back to that contact page at the end?
I will.
Yeah,
I will.
So basically, the Huawei Enterprise USA site, if you go on there, there's a resources page, and it has all kinds of resources, various product information and other things. But one of the things you'll find on that site is a webinar section in which it'll have all of our recorded webinars, including this one today, which will be up within about 24 hours. You'll see all the history of recorded webinars and links to all the future webinars. So if you're interested in the PCIe Application Accelerator Card webinar or the one on Storage as a Service, and you didn't get an email about them, those are all accessible from that website.
Hey, Nick, if I could just jump in there, and for the folks that may not be aware, the PCIe SSD Accelerator Card that Nick is talking about is a competitor to a Fusion I/O card that people use inside their application servers. So effectively, this can provide up to 2.3 or 3.6 terabytes of capacity, and you're actually accessing your data at near memory speeds. We offer our cards are about 25 to 30% of the cost of competing solutions out there in the marketplace. So if you are responsible for or have an individual in your organization that is responsible for servers, whether it's a blade or a rack mount or a tower server, these are industry standard PCIe SSD cards, and they are exceptionally high performing. StorageReview.com rated our card #1 over all competing solutions, including Fusion I/O. And you can buy these cards without having a whole lot of other stuff thrown at you at the same time. So certainly if you're interested in that solution, that would be a good webinar to check out.
Excellent, excellent. All right, we have time for one more question, and this is kind of an open-ended question, Bruce, so just kind of feel free to give some high-level thoughts on it. But the question is, do we have competitive information against some of the common competitors, especially in the WLAN space, which would be the Ciscos and the Arubas and people like that? Can you speak at kind of a high level about how the Huawei wireless portfolio stacks up against some of these other competitors in the marketplace?
Yes, absolutely. And I think with the high amount of engineering that we do, one of the focus, particularly for our access points, has been around the antenna technology, where against competing solutions, our engineers have discovered that some of those competing solutions to the antenna design, and this is multiple companies, where the antenna design has limited their ability to achieve maximum throughput for the given standard that they're actually have adopted or subscribed to with those access points. So it really comes back to price and performance, and we're very much focused on performance, but not at the end price, but not at the by sacrificing performance. And with our engineering around the antenna technology, we've been able to achieve significantly better consistent performance with our APs in the wireless environment. That's the short answer.
That's great. All right, well, hey, we're about out of time. I do want to thank Bruce very much for his excellent presentation, and also just thank everyone in the audience for taking time with us today. If you are interested in a recording of this webinar or sharing that recording with other people, be on the lookout for that on the Huawei Enterprise USA website. And we hope to see you very soon on a future Huawei webinar. Thanks again, everybody, for your time today, and thanks again, Bruce.
You're welcome. Thank you, everybody.